Let's talk about a moment almost every veteran experiences. The day that VA decision letter finally lands in your mailbox or in your e-benefits portal. You've waited. You've wondered. Maybe you've lost sleep, then suddenly you're staring at a stack of pages filled with percentages, decisions, and a whole lot of language. That can be tough to understand. If you've ever read through a VA letter and thought, what does this actually mean? You're not alone. I'm Sam Ross, founder of Claim Climbers. In this episode, we're going to spend some real time unpacking your VA decision letter. We'll talk about what's included, what those words and numbers really mean, and what you can expect after you get your verdict, whether it's an approval, a denial, or somewhere in between. So let's dive in. The first thing you'll notice is when you get your decision letter, it's broken down into several key sections. The language might change a little from letter to letter, but there are a few parts that almost always show up. The first section is a summary for the conditions you claimed for every issue you raised, maybe PTSD, back pain, tinnitus, migraines, or anything else. The letter lists them all. One by one, next to each condition, you'll see a status. Usually that means service-connected, denied, or sometimes deferred. Let's pause on that for a second. If your condition is service-connected, the letter will tell you the percentage assigned. For example, you might see migraine headaches, service-connected 30%. If your condition is denied, this is where you'll get a letter that can get complicated and sometimes discouraging. The VA will give a reason. Here are some of the phrases you might find in a denial. Denied due to lack of evidence. That means the VA did not see enough support in your file. Not related to service. This means the VA didn't connect the condition to your time in uniform. No diagnosis. That's when they say your records don't show you currently even have the condition. Now, you might also see something called a favorable finding. That can sound confusing, but it's actually a good sign. A favorable finding means the VA has accepted a key part of your story. Maybe they recognize that you had an in-service event or exposure, even if they denied your condition to this time around. This can make it easier to get approved in the future if new evidence comes in. Sometimes, you'll see that a condition is deferred. All this means is that the VA is still gathering information or waiting for an exam. It's not a yes, it's not a no. It just means more time is needed. You'll get another decision letter when they're ready to move forward. Now, let's move on to the effective date and retroactive pay section, which we talked about in the last episode. The effective date, if you remember, is the starting point for your benefits. Usually, it's the date the VA received your original claim, or sometimes the date you submitted an intent to file. The letter will explain your effective date, and you'll usually see a breakdown of any retroactive pay you're owed. That is your back pay, the lump sum meant to cover the months you've waited for a decision. If your effective date doesn't look right, or the retro pay seems off, there can be a sign that something in your file needs a closer look. I talked about this in my last episode. Feel free to check it out. Now, I want to address something that comes up a lot. The emotion that hits when you get a denial, or when your rating is lower than you hoped. It's disappointing, sometimes infuriating, and always confusing. First off, just know this happens to a lot of veterans. Even when their cases are strong, the system is not perfect, and it's not uncommon to get a decision that doesn't match your lived reality. If you're feeling let down or overwhelmed by what you read, you are not alone. The most important thing you can do in that moment is slow down. Read through the explanation the VA provides for each condition. Sometimes they point to evidence that's missing or explain what led them to their decision, like a CMP exam result, a DBQ, medical records, anything. You might notice references to things that you didn't know were in your file or that don't exactly match your memory of the exam. If so, it's okay to ask questions. A decision letter isn't just a verdict, it's also a map for what's next. Whether that means more evidence, a review, or just understanding how they calculated your benefits. After the decisions and explanations, your letter usually outlines your appeal options. Here's a quick overview of what's presented. You have supplemental claims. This route is for when you have new and relevant evidence, maybe a new diagnosis, an updated medical opinion, or new treatment records, maybe a nexus letter. This lets the VA take another look, factoring in the new details. A higher level review, which we have gone over. If you think the VA made a mistake or overlooked something that's in your file, you can ask for a senior reviewer to take another look. No new evidence required. Sometimes you can even request a phone call to discuss your concerns directly. It's called an informal conference. Finally, Board of Veteran Appeals. This is usually the most in-depth and usually the slowest, but gives you the most flexibility. You can submit new evidence, request a hearing, or ask a direct review with no hearing if you just want a paper review. There's another important aspect to decision letters: special monthly compensation, or SMC. This is extra compensation for veterans with especially severe disabilities, like amputations, paralysis, or the need for regular aid and attendance. The VA doesn't always award SMC automatically, so if you think you might qualify, it's worth paying attention to whether your decision letter mentions it. Now, here's something that is often overlooked. Decision letters can be full of legal and medical jargon, but they also contain nuggets of good news or next steps if you read closely. Remember, your favorable finding is one. Clear explanations about why a condition was denied are another, because they point to you what might be needed in the future. And if something is deferred, that just means you're still in the process. It's not over yet. Let's recap what we've covered. Your VA decision letter breaks down each claim condition, the outcome, the assigned percentage, and the effective date. If you are granted benefits, you will see a rating and back pay calculation. If you're denied, the letter explains why, often using phrases like lack of evidence, not related to service, or no diagnosis. Favorable findings and deferred decisions are important to note for the future. The letter outlines your appeal options: supplemental claim, higher level review, and board appeal, without telling you which one to choose. And in rare cases, the special monthly compensation may be relevant, especially for severe disabilities. Getting your decision letter is not the finish line. It's another milestone in a long journey. If you find yourself confused, frustrated, or just needing more information, know that you are not alone. Many veterans feel the same way when they open those envelopes or log into their eBenefits portal. In our next episode, we'll talk about what happens if your condition gets worse, how the process works for requesting an increase, and what to expect if you pursue higher compensation down the road. Thanks for watching, and as always, thank you for your service. I'm Sam Ross. See you in episode 16.